Hello and welcome to Weekly News Highlights. Let's begin with the keywords that made headlines this week. Amid heightened market volatility triggered by the Middle East conflict, President Lee Jae-myung is pushing for faster capital market reforms. Global energy markets are on edge as uncertainty deepens around the Strait of Hormuz, and U.S. President Donald Trump is pressing allies to help secure the vital shipping routes, warning of potential consequences if disruptions continue. Marriage rates in South Korea have climbed to their highest level in 7 years, signaling a continued rebound from pandemic-era lows. President Lee Jae-myung has called for faster reforms for the nation's capital markets amid mounting uncertainty from the Middle East crisis and vowed to tackle the so-called Korea discount. Our Blue House correspondent Yoon Jung-min reports.
On the fluctuating local stock markets due to the war in the Middle East, the president said this.
작년에 2,500~600선에서 정말로 쉬지 않고 조정도 조정 없이 6,000 중반대까지 올라갔는데 사실 매우 불안한 느낌을 가지고 있었지만 어쩌면 하나의 계기로 좀 이렇게 다지는 그런 과정을 겪고 있는 것 같기도 합니다.
He was speaking at a dialogue session with investors, firms, and financial authorities on Wednesday, saying that beyond overcoming the external challenge, the country should take the lead in carrying out reforms. Noting the so-called Korea discount, President Lee Jae-myung once again promised to close the valuation gap between local equities and global peers by addressing corporate governance issues.
저는 우리가 하기에 따라서 이 코리아 디스카운트가 아니고 얼마든지 정상평가를 넘어서서 코리아 프리미엄도 가능하다.
President Lee focused not only on cracking down on stock manipulation and enhancing the predictability of economic policies, but also on geopolitical risks.
한반도의 분단 상황 때문에 생겨나는 그리고 이게 정치적으로 악용되면서 지정학적 리스크가 또 문제였죠. 좀 잘 될라 그러면 휴전선에서 말폭탄이 오가다가 심지어 총격이 발생해서 저 나라 또 전쟁 나는 거 아닐까?
The financial authorities plan to introduce the naming and shaming of undervalued stocks and reorganize the Kosdaq market by separating more mature firms from less mature ones. Curbing double listings was also a focal point.
For a sustainable Korea premium, governance issues should be resolved, such as improving shareholder return and a ban on double listings.
President Lee noted that normalizing the capital market is crucial for the nation's economy and development, hoping that it could also help alleviate real estate speculation. South Korea has made a series of revisions to the Commercial Act, including an amendment mandating companies to cancel treasury stock to improve shareholder value. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
U.S. President Donald Trump has asked to postpone his trip to Beijing, originally scheduled for later this month. However, U.S. officials have dismissed speculation that the delay is linked to efforts to pressure China over security in the Strait of Hormuz. Our Oh Seong has more.
US President Donald Trump says he has asked China to delay his planned visit to Beijing by about a month. Speaking at the Oval Office on Monday, Trump said he still wants to travel to China, but feels he needs to remain in the United States while the Middle East conflict continues. White House spokesperson Carolyn Leavitt said earlier in the day that the dates may be moved as Trump prioritizes overseeing the US military operation against Iran. The Beijing trip had been scheduled for March 31st to April 2nd for talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping that had been expected to help stabilize the rocky relations between the world's two largest economies. This comes amid tensions around the Strait of Hormuz, as Iran has threatened to set fire on vessels transiting the vital waterway. Trump has urged several countries, including China, to help protect commercial shipping in the strait, but Beijing has not directly responded. Still, preparations for a potential Trump-Xi summit have continued. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng held 2 days of talks in Paris aimed at preparing possible agreements on rare earth supply chains and expanded Chinese purchases of US farm goods. Wrapping up the talks on Monday, Bessent said if the summit is delayed, it wouldn't be due to war politics, but logistics.
If the president's visit is postponed, it would have nothing to do with the Chinese making a commitment to the Straits of Hormuz. It would obviously be in their interest to do so, but a postponement would not be as a result of any ask from the president not being met. The postponement, if it happens, would be because the commander-in-chief of the United States military believes that he should stay in the United States while this war is being prosecuted.
Beijing said Monday that the two sides remain in contact regarding Trump's visit.
Heads of state diplomacy plays an irreplaceable role in providing strategic guidance for China-U.S. relations. China and the U.S. are in communication regarding President Trump's visit to China.
The spokesperson did not respond directly to questions about Washington's call for assistance in the strait. Seong, Arirang News.
After claiming he didn't need ally support, U.S. President Donald Trump appeared to continue his pressure campaign with a fresh post on social media. Our Seong has the details.
US President Donald Trump has renewed pressure on allied countries over the Strait of Hormuz, claiming that those relying on the waterway should be the ones to secure it. Taking to Truth Social on Wednesday, Trump shared a New York Post op-ed titled US Allies Need to Get a Grip, Step Up and Help Open the Strait of Hormuz. In a separate post, Trump speculated what would happen to the vital shipping route if the US finished off what's left of Iran, saying that this may cause some of America's non-responsive allies to move quickly. The message came after several European countries pushed back against his call to send naval support to reopen the strait, which has been effectively shut down by Iran. While Trump had reacted angrily, saying the United States did not need help from NATO or Asian allies like South Korea, Japan and Australia, his latest post suggests he is still trying to pressure partners into involvement. The Strait of Hormuz carries about a fifth of global oil and petroleum products, making it one of the world's most important energy choke points. While less dependent on Middle East energy, the US has long kept naval forces around the Strait of Hormuz to safeguard commercial shipping and support wider Gulf maritime security. If the seaway passage remains compromised, the shock to the global energy market could be severe, with East Asia especially vulnerable. South Korea and Japan rely on the Middle East for about 70% and 95% of their crude imports respectively. Europe would also feel the strain. A prolonged disruption could raise gas and fuel costs for households, while also pushing up costs for fertilizer and other goods tied to energy-intensive production and shipping. Meanwhile, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte did not directly address Trump's latest remarks, but indicated European allies are discussing the matter.
When it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, I've been in contact with many allies. We all agree, of course, that strait has to open up again. And what I know is that allies are working together, discussing how to do that. What is the best way to do it? They are working on that collectively to find a way forward.
As Trump presses allies to do more on Hormuz, Thursday's summit with Japan could become an early test as countries in Asia and Europe weigh the energy and economic costs of a longer disruption in the strait. Seong, Arirang News.
In South Korea, young people are stepping away from desk jobs to pursue new career paths. A growing number are turning to trades, reshaping the meaning of work in South Korea. Kim Jin-young takes us to the scene.
Energetic K-pop fills the air at a construction site. Working to the rhythm, Kim Kwang-yeon, now in his 30s, is a fourth-year carpenter. He left behind an 8-year career at a company to begin a completely new chapter.
I worked in sales for years, but felt I had little control over my work and was just draining my energy. That's when I started looking into carpentry, to build a skill of my own.
With an average age of 29, Kim's team connects with clients through Instagram, working mainly in trendy districts like Seongsu. They're bringing a fresh, youthful touch to the carpentry scene, redefining blue-collar work once viewed as tough and unappealing. As more young people turn to getting a trade, a quiet shift is taking place on the training floor. This vocational institute in Seoul is now becoming a new path for people in their 20s and 30s. Programs like these were, up until recently, mostly utilized by older people seeking retraining. But the rise in interest from younger individuals is evident in the numbers. In some courses, the proportion of students aged 15 to 39 has increased by nearly 18 percentage points in just 2 years.
Since generative AI really took off in 2023, we've seen more inquiries from young people about technical training. The value of human skills has grown, along with demand for such workers in the industry.
When asked why, many young people here did, in fact, point to artificial intelligence.
I worked at a design company, but after AI emerged, my role shrank noticeably, making me question the sustainability of my career. So I chose welding, as it's harder to replace and a skill I can carry for life.
As the world changes at a rapid pace, young people are carving out new paths. The trend goes beyond personal choice, pointing to underlying dynamics in the labor market.
Jobs in South Korea have become fragmented under a dual labor market, adding to overall instability. Blue-collar work, by contrast, is emerging as a more stable option. Labor is not just about earning a living, but about finding meaning and self-realization. In that sense, blue-collar work holds long-term sustainable potential.
Defined by their boldness and the will to pave their own path, younger workers are taking steps to transform the future of labor. Kim Junong, Arirang News.
The wait is over for fans of BTS worldwide. As the global pop icons geared up for a historic free comeback concert in Seoul, experts forecast a massive economic ripple effect dubbed BTSnomics, rivaling the financial impact of Taylor Swift's recent world tour. Jung Hye-rim explains.
This Saturday, March 21st, Seoul's historic Gwanghwamun Square will turn into a sea of purple as BTS holds a massive free concert celebrating their fifth album, Arirang, drawing hundreds of thousands of fans. The economic anticipation is just as staggering as the expected crowd size. According to a report by IBK Investment and Securities, direct revenue from this comeback alone is projected to reach 2.9 trillion Korean won, or almost $2 billion US dollars. This conservative estimate factors in 6 million album sales, 6 million tour attendees, and massive merchandise revenue. The local tourism and retail sectors are already feeling this BTS effect. According to the travel platform 여기어때, hotel bookings in the downtown Jongno-gu and Junggu districts for this weekend have skyrocketed by 450% compared to the same period last year. Hotels in the downtown area are nearly fully booked, and international fans are expected to spend immensely during their stay before and after the concert.
If we estimate that about 100,000 of the 200,000 expected attendees are foreign tourists, and the average foreign tourist spends about 2.5 million won, this single event alone could generate a direct economic impact of 250 billion won.
For many fans, the trip goes beyond the concert itself. From K-pop merchandise stores in Myeongdong to local restaurants and cultural hotspots, visitors are actively seeking experiences tied to Korean culture.
Visitors don't just stay around Gwanghwamun. Foreign tourists are increasingly seeking out trendy alleys, like Seongsu-dong. We expect this massive influx to revitalize smaller, local commercial districts across the entire city of Seoul.
The economic impact may extend well beyond a single event, fueling activity across the city's broader tourism ecosystem. Some analysts are already comparing the phenomenon to Swiftnomics, driven by Taylor Swift, but say BTS could generate an even wider global footprint. This world tour could reach a staggering 40 trillion won, or 269 million US dollars in revenue. Industry insiders also say that a performance in this symbolic space could transform the area into a long-term destination for K-pop fans, similar to the Beatles' Abbey Road in London. As the capital prepares for the historic kickoff, all eyes are locked on Gwanghwamun. Jung Hye-rim, Arirang News.
South Korea's annual marriage registrations rebounded to pre-pandemic levels in 2025. This comes as welcome news for a nation grappling with a low fertility rate, as a vast majority of births here occur within legal unions. And our business and economy correspondent Kim Do-yeon joins us in the studio to break down the latest data. Welcome, Do-yeon.
Good to be here.
Right, so can you tell us more about the latest numbers and what led to this rise?
That's right, Sujin. The Ministry of Data and Statistics released its 2025 marriage and divorce statistics on Thursday, and the key takeaways are One, a complete recovery to pre-pandemic level. Two, I'm proud to say that I helped the number go up. Around 240,000 marriages were registered last year. That is an 8.1% jump from the previous year. Divorces, on the other hand, fell 3.3% on year to 88,000. This marks the second consecutive year of significant growth in marriages, effectively snapping an 11-year downward trend. The agency attributes the rise to changing demographics and shifting societal sentiments.
First, there is an increase in the population cohort entering their early 30s. Also, data shows a growing perception among unmarried men and women that they should get married.
And not only is there a growing desire for young people to get married, but also the government has also released various support measures for newlyweds. Has this helped at all?
Right, the agency noted that with so many different policies at play, isolating the exact impact of these measures is difficult. However, I visited a local district office that has been actively supporting newlyweds with housing costs. Seocheogu District, for example, offers up to 3 million won to help cover interest payments on jeonse housing deposits for total deposits under 700 million won and smaller than 85 square meters. Around 40 couples received this assistance last year, and the district office began taking new applications just this week. Take a listen to an administrator here.
Those who receive the support always express their gratitude. They frequently tell us that they hope programs like this, along with the eligibility criteria, will be expanded further in the future.
And this is great news for South Korea, as it's long dealt with a demographic crisis. So how has the government responded to this?
Now, in South Korea, marriage and childbirth are virtually synonymous, as out-of-wedlock births are extremely rare. Because of this, the marriage rate serves as the most reliable leading indicator for future births, which is why government policies focus heavily on boosting marriages. Thanks to this accumulated surge in newlyweds, South Korea's fertility rate rebounded to 0.80 in 2025. The agency highlighted that this is not a short-term spike, but a massive accumulation over a sustained period.
Marriages grew consecutively for 8 months, starting in August 2022, and again for 21 months from April 2024 to December of last year. This continuous upward trend is highly meaningful. We can view this massive, accumulated increase in marriages as the #1 reason behind the rising fertility rate.
Demographic experts project this positive trend will likely hold until around 2027. That is because the structural advantage of what's described as the Echo Boomer cohort remaining in their early 30s will last until then. However, once that generation ages and out of their prime marrying years, the population pool itself will shrink drastically. Experts stress that the government must use the next couple of years to implement sweeping structural reforms, specifically addressing housing affordability and quality jobs before this demographic tailwind disappears.
Right, it does look like providing housing and quality jobs will be key moving forward. Now to delve deeper into the latest data, there were some shifts in relationship dynamics. So can you tell us more about this?
That's right. For the first time on record, the proportion of first marriages where the wife is older than the husband surpassed 20%, reaching 20.2% in 2025. This is a departure from the traditional model of Korean families.
In a traditional patriarchal society, men primarily handled the economic responsibilities. Now, those traditional patterns are breaking down, which likely influences this trend.
Lastly, looking at international unions, marriages between South Koreans and foreign nationals stood at 21,000 last year, while the overall figure remained relatively flat, edging down just 0.3% from the previous year. There was a notable spike in Korean-Japanese couples. Marriages between Korean men and Japanese women jumped 26.1%, while unions between Korean women and Japanese men rose 29.3%.
All right, thank you so much for breaking down the latest data for us today.
My pleasure.
South Korean culture is once again in the global spotlight as K-pop-inspired animated film K-pop Demon Hunters won big at the Academy Awards. The historic victory underscores a growing global influence of K-culture and marks a major milestone for representation in Hollywood. Our culture correspondent Park Gun-woo tells us more.
And the Oscar goes to K-pop Demon Hunter.
The moment K-pop fans have been waiting for. K-pop Demon Hunters captured the Oscar for Best Animated Feature at the 98th Academy Awards, beating the likes of Zootopia 2 and Elio. Bursting into tears, the film's director had this to say.
And for those of you who look like me, I'm so sorry that it took us so long to see us in a movie like this. But it is here. And that means that the next generations don't have to go longing. This is for Korea and for Koreans everywhere.
Since the voters are active members of the film industry, there could have been different perspectives, but it was recognized for the overall quality as well as its music. The director also stayed true to her cultural identity despite years of challenges and opposition, and the film's success reflects the growing power of K-culture.
The win comes as the animated film has become Netflix's most-watched movie ever since its release in June last year. And that followed a string of major awards for the film and its soundtrack this year, including wins at the Critics' Choice Awards, Golden Globes, and even the Grammys. At the Academy Awards, the film's main song Golden was also a winner, picking up the award for Best Original Song, making it the first K-pop themed music to take home the award.
Growing up, people made fun of me liking K-pop, but now everyone's singing our song and all the Korean lyrics, and I'm so proud. And I realized the song, this award is not about success, it's about resilience. And I'm just so grateful to our team.
EJ, Rayami, and Audrey Nuna, the voices of the animated trio Huntrix, also performed the track live, alongside traditional Korean instruments and dancers. The audience waved light sticks prepared for the event as they cheered along, turning the venue into a scene straight out of the film.
Performances at the Academy Awards are usually presented on a more cinematic scale. The Golden Stage was striking and emotional, particularly for Koreans, and showed a strong understanding and appreciation of K-pop culture.
On Monday, South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung congratulated the creators on the win, saying it showcased the global power of Korean culture and broadened its horizons, and bringing pride to Koreans worldwide while inspiring the next generation. With K-pop Demon Hunters resonating with global fans and sweeping major awards, attention is now turning to what comes next for K-pop-inspired storytelling on the global stage. 박건우, Arirang News.
The countdown to BTS's comeback is over, but it's the album title Arirang that's sparking global curiosity. As fans around the world ask what it means, the group is bringing new attention to one of South Korea's most iconic cultural symbols.
The countdown to BTS's return is almost over, but as the hype builds, the album's title, Arirang, is drawing attention. For international fans, this single word is sparking curiosity.
Arirang? I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. It's like something to do with traditional music. Traditional Korean music.
So their new album's called Arirang, but I'm not entirely sure what that means. I would assume it's something to do with unity.
Actually, I heard it's like a folk song of Korea. Because BTS is from Korea, of course they want to show to the world.
During a recent Weverse live broadcast, the group's leader explained the thought process behind naming their highly anticipated album.
한국을 상징하는 무언가가 같이 들어가면 좋겠다라는 생각을 하다가 이제 아리랑이라는 키워드를 좀 불러오게 되었는데.
With the release of BTS's latest album on Friday, many fans are wondering what Arirang actually means. So, what is the story behind this iconic melody? Simply put, Arirang is Korea's most famous traditional folk song. But for Koreans, it is much more than just that. Passed down orally through generations with countless regional variations, the song carries the universal emotions of Han, a deep sense of sorrow, and Hung, a resilient joy.
Arirang is a song that symbolizes Korean culture and has been with us throughout our history and lives. It was the song our people sang to endure hardships in unfamiliar environments abroad. You could say this historical experience has led to our deep affection for it.
What makes Arirang meaningful today is that it is no longer just a song of the past, but is being rediscovered and reinterpreted by a new generation. Experts say BTS is playing a crucial role in this ongoing evolution.
BTS's choice of Arirang is an example of modernly expanding its value through music that resonates across race, culture, and social status.
From a song rooted in Korea's past to a symbol reaching audiences worldwide, Arirang is once again finding new meaning today. 정혜림, Arirang News.
That brings us to the end of Weekly News Highlights. Thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your weekend.